What is up, everybody? Welcome to Whatever with Jason Soto, the comedy podcast that literally means nothing and has no topic whatsoever. I'm your host, Jason Soto, and today I got a very special episode for you. I am actually on the road as I'm recording this. I am back in my hometown of what I call just outside of Chicago, Indiana. Because whenever people ask me where I'm from, it's hard to explain exactly where I'm from. So I just say I'm from just outside of Chicago, and people get an idea like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I understand that. So that's kind of more of a frame of reference. And plus all the vulgarities and cussing I do, it kind of explains like, oh, you say fuck a lot, so you're from Chicago. That totally makes sense. So I am back here at home, and I am got a very special guest today. I have my friend who I've basically been friends with for, like at least 25 years? Maybe 30?
1994.
So 2004, 14, almost 30 years. So, man.
Yeah.
He's got way too many projects for me to name right now. So, if you just type up Bill Szany on the internet, you're going to find something that he did. And just go check that out. He wrote books, he does music, he makes videos, probably cross-dresses. I think he was a clown at one point. I think he was a mayor of a small town in Pittsburgh, near Pittsburgh. I don't know. He does everything. So just go Google Bill Szany, and that's my guest. What's up, Bill?
Hey, Jason. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. So I'm just here visiting for a couple of days, and I asked you if you want to come on this podcast because this is more of a free flow type show where like nothing matters really, and we don't have any kind of special topic or whatever, and we have like a improv kind of background where we did like improv comedy.
So it's kind of like Metallica approved podcast where nothing else matters.
Nothing else, nope. Not in the least bit. This episode is going to go up in January, so this is the first episode of 2020, and this is actually the start of the new season, quote unquote, and so congratulations, you are the first guest of 2020. Welcome.
Oh, heck yeah.
That's
thank you, sir.
No problem.
It is an honor.
So, I guess first question, what are you looking forward to in 2020? Are you looking to get some more popularity and all the stuff you do, or do you have another goal in mind that you want to try to accomplish?
Actually, yes. All of the above there.
Okay.
And, not in the near future, but, maybe sometime in my life I wouldn't mind having 2020 vision. But it don't have to be in 2020.
Well, I think we're both, that's not going to happen to neither of us, honestly. That's,
LASIK and stuff like that. You never know.
So here's the thing. My fiance Felicia, she's constantly told me that she prefers me with glasses. Now, she's seen me without glasses several times. And I've always said, I don't know if I would actually get LASIK, and I always talk about this with her, and she's like, no, don't do it. Just keep your glasses. I like your glasses. Just keep it. And I'm like, but, it might be better. I don't have to worry about it. It's an extra spending thing. I got to buy the frames and the prescription. And he's like, no, I don't care. Whatever. And I noticed, and she's not the only person who said this. I had other girlfriends say this to me. I look better with a beard. So it seems like women only like me when I have a lot of stuff on my face. So if I have just stuff covering my face constantly, I'm more attractive. The more they see of my face, the less attractive I appear to be.
So if you're eating a bunch of pizza and you got pizza sauce, it's all over your face, they'll be like, I like that, Jason. You should keep that up.
If I shave my beard and then do that, they probably would find me attractive, yes.
Especially, there's some toppings caught in your beard, a few mushrooms. And
Okay, so normally when I have a guest on this podcast for the very first time, I do kind of talk about how I know the person or my history with them or whatever, but you're going to be a very different case because I've known you for so goddamn long. Like, we could just do probably a whole podcast series, just our lives. But we're not always together like this in person, so that's unfortunately not going to happen. But we can try to cover as much as we can in this show. I do want to talk about the day that I met you.
Fair enough.
I do want to talk about the day that I met you.
Okay.
So I want to see if you remember this. Do you remember the day we met? Just yes or no?
I think you've asked me this before and told me, but I don't recall offhand.
Okay, so let's see if this sparks a memory.
Okay.
So it's 1994, and it's the first day of high school. I'm a freshman at a school called Bishop Null, and it is I'm about to shock a lot of people here. It is a Catholic high school. Yes, I went to a Catholic high school. For what it's worth, I was only there for 2 years, and then I was kicked out because I was possessed or something. I don't know. Anyway, besides the point. So, it's 1994. Now, I didn't know a lot of people going into the school. I knew a few people from my previous school. I went to another Catholic school. It was a middle school called St. Stan's. And some of those people transferred over to the high school. And so, needless to say, I didn't get along with any of them. And so, I think it was like 5th period science class. We had a science class. And the teacher had everyone sit in alphabetical order by last name. So they had me, Jason Soto, and then they had some kid named Bill Szany behind me. But this Bill Szany was absent on the first day of school. And so the teacher was like, maybe he's not actually in this class, or maybe he got lost or something. So every day for this first week of school, this Bill Szany was not to be seen. He was completely gone this whole first week of school. He did not show up until the following Monday. And he just walked in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, hi, I'm Bill Szany. I think I'm in this class." And the teacher's like, "Oh, it's you! You know school started a week ago, right?" And you were like, "Yeah, me and my family were on a vacation." Do you remember that?
It's ringing a bell a little bit, yeah.
Do you remember going on vacation literally the first week of high school?
Yeah.
Because how the hell do you get a vacation on the first week of school? And you had 3 months before that to go on vacation, but you guys went on the first week of school.
That is a great question. I don't know how I got away with that.
Did your parents, was that it? Like, did you not tell your parents that was the first week of school? And you said it was the week after?
I don't know if they were just like, screw it.
You don't need to go to school. Vacation's more important.
How you have high school anytime?
You have literally 52 other weeks to go. You can skip 1 week. It's fine. We need to go to, I don't even know where you went. Like Florida, Hawaii. Like, where did you go? Do you even remember?
California.
Okay, California. Yeah, okay. To California. So that was my introduction to you. Was you were a week late to school, and then you sat behind me, and then I somehow went to talk to you. I think you asked me a question. You probably were asking me what the hell we did the first week of school. Yeah, and I probably was trying to update you. Like, it was a science class, and I was like, well, there's molecules and atoms and, stuff like that. And you're like, oh, okay, very educational. And then we just kind of hit it off. We had like a few things in common. I think we even talked about music that first conversation we had was about music, because I was getting super into Tom Petty's Greatest Hits, because it just came out like right around that time, and I was like listening to it nonstop. And I think I even asked you, I was like, "Hey, you know this guy named Tom Petty?" And you're like, "Yeah, I listen to classic rock like all the time." Yeah. And I was like, "No shit, I never met like a kid my age who listened to classic rock." And I think that's like where it started from there.
That sounds right.
And then I think we were talking about the songs on the Greatest Hits album, and then I remember, and then this is another way you introduced yourself to me, is you made a list of Tom Petty songs that were missing from the Greatest Hits album.
That's me.
Yes. And because you were like, yeah, there's a lot of good songs, but they missed so many more. And you're like, here, we'll make a list for you. And then you went blah 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 blah, and then you wrote it on a piece of paper. I remember that specifically, and I don't remember what the songs were. I don't remember that part, but I remember like, and that just like set the tone for our friendship for the next like 25 years. A, you being late, and B, you making lists all the time.
Holy crap! You're right.
That like was like my clue of like who you were gonna be as a person. It's like he's gonna be late and he's gonna make lists a lot. So that's awesome. And then yeah, so then then we just started talking. We found out we had a bunch of other stuff in common. You know, we both liked movies. You know, a lot of music, classic rock.
Definitely.
One thing you did tell me though was you weren't into what's called modern rock back then, which is now alternative rock. You didn't listen to a lot of the newer stuff. And do you remember like that at all? Like you didn't listen to like a lot of the newer stuff that was coming out?
I think I probably felt that way for a little while.
Was it by choice or was it by force? Like was like, you know, because I know like you only, you know, because you know your parents were like kind of around a lot, so I don't know if it was because all they listened to were classic rock and you didn't get exposed to it, or was it just like an act of choice? Like I don't really want to hear this Nirvana band that's popular right now. I don't want to hear this.
No, it definitely wasn't that. It was I knew who Nirvana was and I liked them already at that point, but yeah, other than them, well, I liked R.E.M.
Okay, yeah, that we had that in common. Yep.
I think I got into them even more when I met you because you were really.
I was super in them, yeah. And actually, that was like the year, maybe the year before that I discovered R.E.M. because they released Monster that year, or maybe the year prior. I can't remember honestly right now. No, they used to that year, and the year before that was Automatic for the People. But my first experience with them was Monster, and the What's the Frequency Kenneth video was like played like nonstop on MTV, like during like the fall of '94. And I was like, this is an amazing song. And I went and got that album, and like, this is a fucking amazing album. And then I was like, I gotta go check out the other stuff. And then I went backwards, and I went to Automatic for the People. I was like, this is another awesome album. And I kept going backwards, and I'm like, this is awesome. And I was like, the only thing I remember from R.E.M. growing up was the It's the End of the World as We Know It. Because that was like popular in the 80s. That was huge in the 80s.
Definitely.
That song was everywhere. Because everyone was doing that, right, Leonard Bernstein. Like, they would do that like nonstop everywhere I went. But then, yeah, so that was how I fell in love with R.E.M. was that. And then I think, I probably forced you to listen to some R.E.M. I was like, dude, you gotta hear this Monster album. It's amazing.
I mainly remember Stan. Mm-hmm. That was one of the first songs of theirs I heard.
That was that was an early one.
And Losing My Religion.
That was the other big song they had. They had that. That was the album before Automatic for the People, I believe. I think that was out of time. That was like '91, and that was on '91. Automatic was '93, and the Monster was '94. And then they went on the Monster tour '94, '95, and I really wanted to go, but they didn't. I don't think they came anywhere near us, or they did, and my dad couldn't get the tickets or something. I was so sad I couldn't go. And then later they would release one of my favorite R.E.M. albums of all time, which was New Adventures in Hi-Fi.
Nice.
And I remember like when that came out, I like played that nonstop, like repeatedly, and I think I made you listen to it like probably 20 times in like a span of a month. I probably brought it over to your house every time, because every time I would get a new CD, I would come to your house and I'd play it for you, and I'd be like, dude, check out this R.E.M. Or I remember one time I was like, there's this band called Alice in Chains. You heard of them? They got a pretty cool song. And I remember playing that for you too. And then we just like listened. We were just up in your room like listening to like all this new, I'll put that in quotes, music. And speaking of exposing to music, one of my favorite things that you tried to expose me to was this band Neurosis.
I still consider them geniuses.
That's fine.
I still listen to them every now and then.
It's perfectly fine that you like them, but here's the thing about Neurosis, and I could not stand. I found so irritating. Was they would have like these 8-minute songs, and then it would be like something like "We're standing in a doorway," and then there's like a 20-minute guitar solo. And then they would finish the lyric, and then they would do another 30-minute guitar solo, and then they would do another lyric, and it was like, holy shit, can you get through a verse without a damn guitar solo? Like, it was really, like, frustrating, and it was like, I'm like, what is this? And then you told me that band had a side project, and that side project was called something else, and it was meant to be played with that album. Yes. And I was like, well, that makes fucking sense, because that's probably the missing parts of the song.
And I have still never bought the other album and played them together.
I do want to hear how that matches up to this day. That's like 20 years ago, and I still want to hear that, because that perfectly makes sense. Of course they did that. It's like, there's got to be something in these spaces that you're doing it. But yeah, and then you exposed me to all this like underground, like I guess underground punk stuff, and I don't even remember how you were getting this stuff from, but you would be like, yeah, I went to this record store in Chicago, and there were all these weird like punk bands like the Melvins and stuff like that, and I was like, how the hell are you finding this shit out? Because they never played this on a radio station that we listened to.
The Melvins, it's funny you said the Melvins, because I got into them from, you remember my buddy Nico?
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Another guy I'm never going to forget in my life. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Ooh, I just had like 4 memories of just him of you just mentioning his name.
Yeah, Nico, he's a memorable person.
We'll go with that. We'll be nice and go with that. No, I like the guy. He was fine. It was just certain things happen certain times. That's a whole long story. Anyway, continue.
He's still my buddy. I just lost track of him.
Yeah, that's fine.
Haven't kept in touch. But, that was like his favorite band, the Melvins.
Okay.
So that was how I got into them.
Okay.
And he would play them like when we'd be driving around randomly.
Yeah.
Going weird places.
That was another thing we did a lot too. We were just like, oh, that just reminded me. Remember the first day you got your license? Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I get a phone call from you, and you're like, dude, I just got my license. I want to come pick you up. And I'm like, oh, sweet, awesome, yeah, come pick me up. And so you picked me up, but you're with your parents. It was your mom and your dad were in the car, and I feel like your dad was in the passenger seat, and then I was in the back seat with your mom. I feel like that's what happened. And then we went to a Mexican restaurant somewhere in East Chicago.
Oh, El Ranchero, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's it. And then that was our celebration of you getting your driver's license.
Wow.
And then I don't see. I only remember shit like this when something stirs the memory. Like I would not have thought of this randomly. I just remembered this day because then what happened next was your dad wanted you to drive on the highway and you were nervous to do it, and like you guys were just arguing while you were driving, and I'm just back in the back seat like this is really uncomfortable, but okay.
So we did end up doing it. Oh wow!
And then because he forced you to go on like Klein Avenue, which is kind of like for everyone out there not from this area, it's kind of like a highway, but it's called Avenue, but it's a highway. It doesn't make fucking sense. That's Indiana for you. But and then we went to your house, and then because of how you drove on the highway, your parents did not want you to go back out with the car again. So I had to stay the night.
Wow. I think I blocked that.
You probably
you hanging out and staying over part was cool, obviously.
Yeah, but you were pissed. You were pissed because like you kept like saying, "Let me." No, seriously, I'm not gonna take the highway. I'm gonna take regular streets. I want to go pick up my other friends. You want to pick up your girlfriend at the time, and they were like, "No, we're not gonna let you do it because you couldn't drive on the highway." And so I ended up staying the night because I couldn't get dropped back off at home, and it was like a weekend, so it was fine. But I just remember like it being really awkward because like you were just like pissed at your parents, and your parents were pissed at you because you couldn't drive right on the highway. And it was funny is since then you have driven on the highway numerous times and you're fine.
Well, actually, the funny part to that, I was gonna say, yes, I have driven on the highway numerous times, but I still do not like going on the highway. I cannot stand going.
That's fair. I mean, I can understand that.
I only do it if I have to. I still prefer regular roads.
Yeah. There are people that are like that. I don't blame you at all. But yeah, that was just another like thing that happened that I just remembered, and I just remember that right now as you were talking. Because that was one of the things we used to do. Was we used to just kind of go in cars and just drive around because there was really nothing else to do.
Oh yeah. How many times did we go to Walmart?
Yes.
And not the closest Walmart, but
we went to the super far away one. Well, because they were open 24 hours.
Right.
And so, we went to this one that was like 25, maybe 30 minutes away from where we lived. And it was a 24-hour Walmart. And you can, like, get away with, like, anything in a 24-hour Walmart. Like, at 2 in the morning, those people that work there just don't give a shit. And as long as you're not setting the place on fire, you can literally do whatever.
Exactly.
And so we were just like running around the aisles, like throwing those big bouncy balls at each other, and just like yelling nonstop. And
yeah, we did a lot of crazy stuff in Walmart back in the day.
We were like 20, 19, 18 at that time, so whatever.
And Meyer.
I want to bring up Meyer. So I sent you this message a couple of weeks ago, and I want to talk about it here because this is the funniest inside joke like between us that nobody will ever understand, and I want to try to explain it.
Oh, I know.
So one of the things we used to do, we did this constantly, was we used to go to this restaurant called Round the Clock because they were open 24 hours. And then we would leave there at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were still like all wired up from all the caffeine we had because you would drink like 20 cups of coffee, and I had like 30 glasses of Dr. Pepper, so we're just like all wired up, and we're like, we don't want to leave the restaurant this time, I don't go home. So we would go to Meyer. Now, I don't know if Meyer is a nationwide chain, but think of it as like a step up from Walmart. That's basically what Meyer is. It's like between Target and Walmart. I think that's what Meyer falls in line with that.
Kind of in between them,
yeah. Yeah, that's how I would look at it. And so they were a 24-hour department store that had like everything. They had like food, they had clothes, and most importantly, they had an entertainment section with, at the time, VHS tapes, CDs, and whatever. And so one night we were there just messing around in the music section, and they would have these like boxes above the CDs, and these boxes had like samples of all the new songs that were out that week. And for whoever did the voiceover for these boxes was this weird like British kind of guy who had no idea who any of the bands were that he was talking about, and he said the names in the most weirdest way. And one of the ones that we remember the most was Trick Daddy. And we hit that thing so many times because this guy said Trick Daddy so funny. And he said other weird shit too, like other band names, but that one sticks out in my mind because that is the funniest one.
Definitely.
It was just, it was like a British guy, right? It was like Trick Daddy.
He could have been British, I'm not sure. But he definitely had that like monotone.
It was definitely monotone.
Yeah, but almost, I don't know if it's British or just like sophisticated in some way.
It was like somebody was like, okay, so we want you to do all the recordings for this thing, but we don't want to cause any kind of excitement in the aisles, so you got to say this the most flat, boring way ever. And he's like, who is these people?
Maybe a little bougie.
He's like, Trick Dad. I almost wonder if it was like he got the script as he was recording it, and so he's like, Trick Daddy?
Trick
Daddy. And so that was one of our inside jokes, was we would do that voice for like other bands, and we'd be like, 2 live crew. Me so horny. We just did that all the time, and nobody knew what the hell we were talking about. It was just literally an inside joke between me and you.
Yeah.
And you know what I wish, because we're in this information age right now, I wish there was some website that had all those recordings somewhere, because I would pay $1 million to hear that again.
Wow. You would think there would have to be, right?
I mean, those went somewhere.
They had to go somewhere, right?
Like, after they took those out, they had to go somewhere. They just throw them out. And I know they have to be somewhere, because you know what I found on the internet one time? You know how you go, back in the 80s, department stores would play, like, this canned music, and they would have announcements every now and then. It would be like, I don't know, like, here's Kenny G, and then it'd be like, attention Kmart shoppers, we're having a sale on ladies' brassieres. And then,
oh yeah,
so
I get what you're saying.
I found like a 5-hour audio recording of those things from like the 70s from Kmart.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. And I'm like, if that exists, this Trick Daddy thing has to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Somebody has to have that recording. I mean, somebody else had to have found that hilarious and keep that for themselves. Because there's no way we were the only ones who found that funny. Because it was fucking hilarious.
But like, if they were there now, somebody would just walk up and record it with their phone.
Exactly. You know? And we didn't have that technology back then.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, so
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say about the closest thing would be like a mini cassette recorder.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Yeah, but you ever think about how like kind of lucky we are that we didn't grow up in this age because of the way cell phones are now? Like, you know, not to bring the show down a little bit, but like, you know, can you imagine like us in high school, but with like cell phones and social media? Like, that would have been kind of fucked up, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Like, it would be way different, and it would be a whole other thing. And I'm very glad we grew up in the age that we did.
Me too.
Because I think us as adults, we can handle stuff better. But back when we were younger and teenagers, I don't think there's no way now I can handle like Facebook bullying or whatever.
I can't even begin to imagine that.
Yeah, so I'm very glad for the era we were in. Not having like, you know, an easy way to record stuff or whatever. But at the same time, I kind of wish we did just record the cool stuff like the Trick Daddy thing.
Right.
Like, that would have been all over Instagram if we had that. We would have been like, oh my god, you listen to this. Another crazy story I want to talk about, and this is one I know we both remember very clearly, was a night we went and saw a band called the Mr. T Experience.
Oh, definitely.
You know what? I literally could write probably like a 500-page book just about this night alone, because this was like the craziest thing we've ever experienced together. Well,
definitely.
At least top 5. So, alright. So there's this band called Mr. T Experience. They're kind of a indie punk band. And they were, you and your girlfriend at the time, Julie, were like fans of them. Like, hardcore. And again, this is another band I have no idea how you found out about. I'm guessing through Julie or somebody.
Liz Watkins.
Ah, okay.
She was the first one.
Yeah, another friend. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you were telling me like, hey, there's this band. They're a really cool band, and they're called Mr. T Experience, and they're coming to concert in Chicago. And I'm like, it's a band called the Mr. T Experience. I'm fucking in. I don't know anything about the music, but you know what? It's a band called the Mr. T Experience. Like, why not? Let's do this thing. So, so I could probably talk about this part. We were originally supposed to ride with your girlfriend Julie and her friends originally, but then the van that they took filled up, and so there wasn't room for us.
I believe that, it was her uncle's van.
Okay.
Her uncle's driving.
So we had to find our own way there.
Dropping them off.
Now, when I say that, I'm from just outside of Chicago, Indiana. I mean, we're literally like just 5 minutes away from the border of Illinois. So to get to proper city of Chicago, we have to take a train into the city. So we did that. And correct me if I'm wrong, this might have been one of the first times we took the train, at least by ourselves. So I took it a lot with my dad going to the Taste of Chicago. And I'm sure you did with your parents as well. But I think this might have been, if not the first time, one of the earliest times we took this train together.
Yeah, it's possibly the first. Possibly.
Because we didn't really do this very often. Because this was like 99? It was still like 98, 99. Somewhere around there.
Something like that. I'd have to... I wish I would.
I believe it was before 2000. That's all I remember. Because I think we were out of high school at this point. But I don't think we were quite like... adults, quote unquote. I think we were just out of high school.
So it had to have been late 98.
98, early 99. You know what? It must have been, well, it was cold. It was kind of cold. No, was it summer? I keep thinking, was it cold or warm? I cannot remember for the life of me. I know that doesn't help because those are the two literal seasons we have in this part of town. It's either cold or it's hot. Why do I remember it? No, I think it was hot.
I feel like, it was probably hot.
So it must have been the summer. So maybe it was summer of 98.
We'll go with that for now.
All right. Either somewhere in 98 or somewhere in 99. It was one of those two summers. Okay. So he took the train into Chicago. Now, remember, this is before cell phones was a thing, so we didn't have Google Maps. You, with admittedly your terrible memory, and you admit yourself you have a terrible memory, kind of knew where the place was and the name of the place. And we had no fucking clue how to get to this place. And the only thing we knew was it was a bowling alley.
The funny thing is, I can tell you right now, I remember the name of the place.
Okay, what was
Fireside Bowl.
Okay, so maybe you did know that much.
Maybe
you might have known that much.
I didn't know that much at the time, though.
But we didn't know where it was at. That's to be fair.
Sure,
we had no idea where it was at.
I still couldn't tell you where that place is now.
I had no friggin' clue. So we ended up getting a cab, and now I think you were thinking the same thing I was thinking, is that in movies cabs seem to magically know where everything's at. Yeah. You just say the name of the place and they just go there.
Exactly.
So we found a cab driver who actually knew where the place was, but
he was a maniac.
So he says, I know exactly where that's at. So then he says, what are you guys going to go there for? Are you guys going to bowl? And then I think you were doing most of the talking. I think you were like, no, we're going to go see a band. And he's like, oh, what kind of band? And like, oh, it's a punk band, a band called Mr. T Experience. He's like, that sounds like garbage. You're like, you need to listen to real music, like Jethro Tull. And I'm not exaggerating. He said Jethro Tull. He literally said that. He's like, Jethro Tull is like the best band in the world. Do you know Jethro Tull? And we were like, yeah, we know Jethro Tull. Like, you know, we grew up listening to classic rock music because of our parents. But he ignored us and was like, you kids today don't know anything about classic rock. And here, I'm going to play a song for you now. And then he played like Aqualung or something. And then, keep all this in mind, he is now on the Dan Ryan Expressway going like 95 miles an hour, jamming out to Jethro Tull. And he's doing air flute as he's doing this. When it gets to the flute solo, he lifts his hands off the wheel and he's doing the miming of the flute. And we're just in the backseat, and we've never been to the city. This is maybe like our second time by ourselves in the city, going to some God only knows where place to see a band I've never heard of. And there's this fucking maniac driver guy with his hands off the wheel on a highway in Chicago at like 9 o'clock at night, air fluting, jamming out to Jethro Tull, and then he just keeps berating us for not liking real music.
Yeah. I couldn't have said any of that better than you did, that's for sure. And that is so accurate. You're not even really exaggerating.
I'm not.
At all.
No, I swear to you, that's exactly what happened. So we find the place, and yeah, I'm with you. I if you told me today with a gun to my head where this place was, I'd have no fucking clue where this was. It was deep in the city, like just somewhere deep in the city.
Yeah.
And so we get out of the cab. We paid the fee, which was $19.98, so it was like $5. And so, here's the other question: how do we have money? Because we didn't have jobs. Well, I had a job, but it didn't pay well. So I don't know if I even paid for it. You must have borrowed some money from your parents. Because we did a lot of shit that night that involved money, and I don't know how we survived.
I mean,
I'm just being honest.
For that specific night, I have no idea.
You had to have borrowed. One of us had to have borrowed money from somewhere, because everything that happened this night involved at least maybe $40, and that was a lot of money to us back in 1999. Right. So, like.
That's a lot now. Yeah, back
then
it was definitely.
All right, yeah, but I mean back then for sure. Because I mean, I was working at McDonald's, which didn't pay well. And I don't know if you had a job then or if you were at Dynasty.
That's what I was just saying. I might have been there at the time.
So we might have had some money, but to this day, I'm thinking back on it, and it's like I don't remember how we had money, but we survived because we were on our own the whole night. We eventually found your girlfriend and your friends. And we were at the concert, and it was a pretty cool concert. I got scared for my life once because they were doing like a mosh pit type of thing. Yeah. And we were like right in the front row, and we're like, "Oh fuck, we're gonna get squashed."
I think that was my first mosh pit experience.
And this is legitimately a bowling alley. Like it was a bowling alley. It was a tiny bowling alley, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was not a big place.
It was off to the corner. And I want to say we were by the lanes.
Kinda, I think so.
I think we were like on like the lane, so it was a very weird setup. Like this was just all weird. Like something about this was wrong, and you could tell like people just didn't give a fuck in the '90s. Right. And it wasn't until like the mid 2000s we're like, man, maybe we should have concerts in a better place, not just a bowling alley on top of lanes. Like it was just like no rules were in the 90s. They were just like, yeah, just put them in a bowling alley. That's fine. We'll have a mosh pit on slick floors. That totally makes sense.
But you know what? It didn't matter because we were so scrunched together.
True.
At least
there was a lot of people. There was a lot of people there. Yeah. And I think that was also a fire hazard. A lot. This whole. I would be surprised if this place still exists because they probably got shut down for some fire hazard.
It's very possible. Yeah.
So because of oh, go ahead.
I just say I wouldn't trade the experience.
No. For anything. Now that we're alive, I'm happy that we did this. Back then, I was scared for my life, and on top of that. Your girlfriend was like, well, there's still no room in the van, so you're going to have to find your way back home.
Yeah, and I think we were expecting for some reason that we were going to fit on the way back.
Yeah, I don't remember why we thought that.
Yeah, I don't remember what she said, but I think she said something that made me think, oh, on the way back we'll be able to go back. So that created a whole new problem, if I remember correctly.
Of just us finding a way back home.
I think this just came to me right now. I think we were standing out front of there like, where the hell are we?
Yes.
Like, people are leaving. Like, there was like, I think a lot of people were gone already. And we're just standing out front there like, what do we do now?
Now what? Right.
Cab time?
But here was the thing. This was in some deep, dark neighborhood. There was no cabs. So we had to roam around this neighborhood, and we don't know where this place was at. And we're just trying to find a cab. Like, there has to be a cab somewhere. And we were just roaming streets for like fucking half hour or something, maybe more, just finding any cab. And see, this is where technology would have came in. We could have just called an Uber, and we would have been right to the train station. Nope, we didn't have that either. We had to find a cab. We eventually got to a busy part of a city, some part of the city where there was actual traffic, and there was a cab. And thankfully, we found one.
Yes.
Then began what I like to call the countdown timer, because I was in charge of the train schedule, and I had it with me. And at this point, it was like close to midnight.
Yeah.
And we had, it had been even a little bit after midnight, and we had like 20 minutes to get to the train, and it was the last train leaving the city that night. So we had 20 minutes to get to that train, and we were 25 minutes away.
You know what? I gotta give you credit. As you said, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know where we were at. But whenever and we've been in several situations like that. That was just probably the first, like you said.
First of many, yeah.
But every time you've always been the adult person.
Oh my god, you just gave so many people a heart attack by saying that. Like, Jason, the adult? What?
Because, like you said, is the countdown. You were counting down. I was just like following your countdown. I was just
because I was like, dude,
figure out where we're going, and I'm gonna follow you.
I was like, dude, we need to get to this train. It's the last train. It leaves at 12:30 or whatever it was.
I'd still be there right now. I'd still be wandering
that little neighborhood wherever this was. Yeah, that's true. You would have like
charge and be like, okay.
You would have set up a camp in some alleyway, and you would have been like, I need to get back to Indiana. So we were like 25 minutes away, and we had 20 minutes, and so we told this cab driver, you need to get to this train station. It's the last train. We need to catch this. And I am not in the best health. I've never been in tip-top shape. This was the most running I've ever done in my life, because the cab dropped us off outside of the thing, and we sprinted the hell out of that cab, down the stairs, down this long-ass hallway where the train station was. And we had 1 minute to spare. We just got to it. The conductors were just outside of the doors of the train, and they were like waving people in, like, get in already. And we're like, wait! Yeah. And we ran into that train, and then we were just like, oh my god, we made it.
Man.
Yeah, that was a crazy ass night.
Like, I haven't forgot the situation or the event, but I forgot like all that until right now.
Yeah, because it was very close. Like, we almost, like, what would we have done if we missed the train? Like, what could we have? The only thing I could think of was we could have just walked around all of downtown Chicago for like 8 hours.
Yeah,
that's the only thing we could have done, because
there's nothing open then. We were just wandering in dark. You know,
because, you know, like I said, this is before cell phones, so we couldn't call our parents and be like, "Hey, pick us up." I mean, I guess we could use a payphone.
Yeah,
but I think we didn't want to bother our parents. Well, because your dad like worked a lot, like super early in the morning, so you didn't want to call your house because he would have been asleep. And then my dad at the time, like, he would have been probably pissed that he would have to come to Chicago to pick us up. So we were on our own.
Yeah.
And so we would have just been like, you know what? We would have just be walking around downtown Chicago for like 8 hours until the train started running again. Yeah. And then we would be getting home at like 7:30, and then your parents would be mad, wondering where the hell we were.
Oh man. We would have been both punished for like months.
Well, I would have been okay because my mom knew I was staying the night at your house. So, as far as she knew, I was at your house. I was all right. You would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
But then we got on the train. We got home okay. We walked to your house, and then it was like, that was a crazy ass night, and that was a night I'll never forget. So
same here.
That was definitely one of the coolest adventures we've gone on together.
Definitely.
I did want to ask you, it's probably a little weird for me to ask. Going back to the first day we met, what was like your impression of me? Like, do you remember at all, like, what you thought of me, like, back then? Like, when we, like, maybe not the first day, but like around that time we were getting to know each other. Did you like think either this guy's a little weird, but I'm gonna just stick with it, or were you like, he's kind of cool?
He's kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. All right. I always kind of wonder, like, people's, like, first... Because you think about that, right? Like, what's your first impression of me? Like, you know, you never really get to find out. Because we're in this, like, polite society where, you know, we're trying to just be nice to each other. But then secretly we're like, well, that guy's a little weird. Or, well, what the hell is that guy doing with his arm? Or, you know, like, whatever. We're secretly thinking these things inside.
Well, yeah. I think as human beings, we can't help but... There's always going to be that that unintentional judgment like that.
Probably, yeah.
Some kind of thought's going to run through your head that you can't. But it's I don't know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Because there are, like, you know, I remember I was, like, friends with other people in high school, but it's very interesting that, like, me and you were, like, the ones that, like, stuck it out. Because there were people that I knew and that I would talk to regularly, but then I never got as close to them as I did you. And it was, like, I don't know how else to word this. It's kind of strange how that happened, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
How, like, it was just me and you just, like, gravitated towards each other. And, how, like, we, or at least I didn't, like, two other. I did have one other friend back then, but then when I left that school, we stopped talking, and then he just kind of dropped out of my life. But then even when I left Bishop Knoll and went to Clark, we still kept talking. We talked on the phone a lot, and then I would come to your house because you didn't live that far from me. Mm-hmm. And so we were still talking to each other. And I do remember when I went to Clark, you gave... I think I still have this. You gave me a list of people to be friends with. Do you remember that? I have this somewhere. It's like hidden in a binder somewhere.
I don't know if it was so much a list of
no,
people.
It was a list of names.
but I think it was more like, I know these people, so if you happen to see them, you might become friends. You know.
And I found it not that long ago, but I kept forgetting to bring it. And I remember, like, finding it and laughing because I remember some of those people back then. And one of those guys, and I don't even want to say who it was a little weird. He was a little weird, and he was cool, but just something about him was just kind of weird. I can't pinpoint it. And
if I say, can I say the initial?
Go ahead, do an initial.
I'm trying to think.
You're probably still friends with this guy, like, on Facebook somewhere. So that's why I don't want to say the name.
Was it a J?
That was a last name.
Okay, I'll give up.
Okay. Oh, but I know who you're talking about. I think I know who you're talking about. Was a comic book guy?
Yeah.
Yes, he was really fucking weird.
That's why I jumped to that conclusion.
No, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, this dude's weird. And I remember as we left high school, we would see him walking around the neighborhood. Yeah. And he would just be there. And it was like, oh, there's that guy. And it was like, he was really weird. Yeah, now I'm thinking back to it.
Well,
yeah, that dude was weird. No, not him, no. And this guy I'm thinking of, like, again, I'm sure he's the nicest guy on the planet. There was just something about him when I saw him and I met him. Not the guy we're talking about, this other guy.
Okay.
When I met him, like, there's something about him was just off, but he was nice enough. And, yeah, and I remember that was the name. And he was in my homeroom my first year there, my junior year. And he sat, like, a few seats behind me. And I'm like, oh, that's one of the guys that Bill knows. But I didn't end up talking to him just because something was kind of weird.
Was he in the same grade as us?
Yeah. No, he was.
Okay.
So, one of the weird things he did, just to kind of explain it, was he wore the same clothes every day. And, you know, I try not to judge people on stuff like that. Because I don't know what their home situation is like. Yeah. And maybe there was a reason why he did it, but he literally wore the same thing the whole year. Now, the next year, he switched it up and wore something different, And then he would switch off every now and then, but for the most part, he would wear the same thing every day. And before anyone asks, this was not a uniform school. This was you could wear whatever school. Which was freeing for me because I went from a school where you had to wear a uniform to where you get to wear whatever. And it was like black t-shirts and jeans for me all year long. But the black t-shirts had different designs on them at least. So
that had to have been pretty cool when you
yeah, I was very happy. But then I had to buy clothes because I didn't really have a lot of clothes. Because I went to school 5 days a week, and then I only had the weekends, and I only got to wear like 3 shirts. And then I was like, okay, back to school, and so it was whatever. And then once I went to that high school where we could wear whatever, like my dad took me on a big shopping spree and like bought me all these shirts. And I remember even he made jokes about it. He was like, "This is another black T-shirt," and I was like, but it's got something different on it. So, but yeah, okay. I don't know if do you remember making a list of names? Do you remember that though?
I do remember making a list. It was in the camper, right?
Yes. It was. Yeah.
I feel like when you first started coming to my house, we were hanging out in the camper all the time.
Yeah, you had this camper parked in your driveway. It was not quite. It wasn't big either. It was just a small, like,
what would we call it?
Kind of like a. Yeah, well, not even. It wasn't even that big. It was just
I think
like a glorified van. It was just like a van but bigger, and it had like a table in it with like booth seating. It had a bathroom that I don't think you guys ever used. Like kitchen cabinets, and then like a big seat in the back, and then you had like beds over the driving area.
Yeah.
Or like a bed over the driving area. And I rode in it exactly one time, and it was on your birthday, going to a horse racing track. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I think it was your 18th birthday?
No, you're close. It was 17.
Okay, because I was like, you had to be very close to gambling age, but I...
Well, that's the neat thing. I don't know if it's still today, but that's horse racing is when you turn 17.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, on your birthday, and it was on your exact birthday, your parents came and picked me up in this camper, and it was me, you, your cousins, your parents, and maybe your uncle? One of your uncles, I think. I don't remember.
Well,
I didn't know for sure me, you, your cousins, and your parents were in there. I can't remember. But you had a whole shit ton of people.
I feel like one or two of my aunts were there, maybe.
But I don't know if they were in the camper with us. But anyway.
In the camper, yeah.
But you had like a lot of people come like to the racetrack.
Yeah.
And it was this racetrack like just outside of Chicago somewhere.
Yeah, Balmoral.
Yeah. And then that was like that's my first and only time where I gambled on horses. Because I'm older than you by like a month and a half. So I was 17 before you. And so I went along. And yeah, I had no idea. To this day, I don't know how horse racing works. I know there's like first place, second place, third place, and then there's like bet, try something, and there's all this terminology.
Trifecta.
Yeah. That I, to this day, do not understand. I remember your dad was like giving us a crash course for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like how to do all this. And all we did was bet on horses with names that we liked. That was all we did.
I probably went there like a handful of times with them at different points in time.
Okay.
And he probably had to tell me that same crash course thing every time because there was so long in between going that I wouldn't remember.
Yeah, I never did it again, so I still have no clue how the hell you do that. But yeah, I remember we were just picking on horses that had cool names that were funny, were like pop culture references, or were just weird.
Yeah,
that's all we did. And
that's definitely our method.
Do you remember if you won? Did you win anything? I don't think I won anything at all.
I feel like maybe once.
I don't think I did at all. And if it wasn't probably much, was it?
Probably not.
Yeah. And then the only other memory I have of that was like the next day I went to my grandparents' house to tell them about it. And I had it was like a book of all the horses that were listed. And I was showing my grandparents this, and my grandfather grabbed the book out of me out of my hand, and he starts circling the horses that we should have bet on because he knew all this shit. And he's like, "Oh, you should have bet this because of this, and or because of that, or because it was sunny this day, so he would have been better on this day." And oh, he had 3-1 odds, so that would have been a perfect one. And I was like, okay, like where were you yesterday? Like, and I remember he circled all this stuff in the book, gave it back to me, and then he's like, "I'm gonna take you there sometime." He never did. I've never gone ever since then. But that was like my only time, like horse.
Man, if we had that book with the ones he circles and had a DeLorean.
DeLorean went back in time. I know, that would have been our own little almanac. Whew, that would have been amazing. But the camper, you brought that up. So, another awesome memories I got of just me and you hanging out in there was when we decided to become writers.
Yes.
I feel like
both were already.
Well, yeah, I did write like short stories, like, you know, but I kept that to myself. And I think I didn't even tell you this until when we started doing that, was that I was writing short stories, and I used to write like all kinds of short stories when I was younger, and then I didn't do it for a little bit in high school. But then me and you were hanging out more, and then you were like, "I got this idea for a screenplay, and I want to write it. You know, you didn't necessarily say like with me, but you wanted me to be there so you can show me what you wrote." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine with me. That's cool." And so then I was writing something at the same time. And so we would just go into this camper that was parked in your driveway, and we would just sit there and like drink like pop and just write stuff. And then we just keep trading back and forth stuff we wrote. And yeah, and mine was like a science fiction adventure thing that didn't really pan out. I think about that every now and then. I think about revisiting that and like maybe repurposing it for a book. I don't know, but
that'd be cool.
But you wrote this crazy ass fucking movie. Do you remember? I'm sure you remember it.
Yeah.
No, there's no even point even asking.
I know what you're gonna say. Yeah.
Man, this was like the weirdest thing I've ever read, and that is a compliment. Because I've read some weird things since then and probably before this. So it's probably safe to say that we're Quentin Tarantino fanboys. Like, we're just huge fans of his work. Like, we watched Pulp Fiction, we saw Reservoir Dogs, we just loved all of his movies.
Those two changed my whole way of looking at it. Movies from that point, life in general.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, because of Pulp Fiction, that's still to this day my number one favorite movie, and that came out in '94.
Yeah,
and I cannot think of a movie that tops that for me. Like, you know, there's some that come close.
Yeah.
That came out since then, even in modern, you know, this day and age. But like, to me, when people ask me my number one favorite movie is, I go Pulp Fiction, because it was just such like a life changing thing for me to like. This is a most unique movie I've ever seen. It was done out of order.
Yeah. And
it had all these great like actors in it. And it was just a really fucked up story. It was just about, you know, and it wasn't even really about anything technically. It had no plot. If you really think about it, there's no plot in that movie.
Yeah.
It's just stuff happening that's crazy, and then it just ends, and it's all out of order.
Yeah.
You know, there's no, like, you know, a man falls in love with a woman, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, two hitmen, the mob boss wife, mob hitman's friend, and then this boxer dude who accidentally kills a guy, and stuff happens, and that's it. But like, the way it was like presented was so like unique to us, because we've never seen nothing like that before. Because we just seen like these straight lace movies that are like, goes from point A to point B to point C, and Quentin Tarantino goes from point F to point J to point Z back to A, and then the letters. And then the number 49 for some reason. Like, he just jumps all over the place.
Now, I feel like you got to watch it a lot sooner than I did. Did you watch it when it came out?
Yes. Can I tell you my memory of the first time I watched Pulp Fiction? Because you weren't there. And I think I watched it since then with you. But my very first time watching Pulp Fiction was with my grandmother. So... The movie came out right in theaters, and my grandmother, who, you know, God rest her soul, she loved John Travolta. Now, she loved 70s John Travolta. the whole Saturday Night Fever,
Yeah.
Welcome Back, Kotter, that John Travolta. He disappeared for a little bit in the 80s and early 90s, and he was in some stuff, but it didn't do good.
Maybe Look Who's Talking was probably the biggest.
But then even people didn't like that.
Yeah.
So Pulp Fiction was like his relaunching of his career. And all my grandmother knew was my favorite actor, John Travolta, is in this movie, and I want to see it. And so I said, 14-year-old me, hey, I want to see that movie too. It looks interesting. So when I went to my dad's house, every weekend when I went to my dad's house, he would take me to the video store and we'd rent movies. And so I rented Pulp Fiction because I remember my grandmother saying, oh, John Travolta, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is the perfect time to watch this, right?
That makes sense.
So I take it back and we watch it. Now, to everyone who knows Pulp Fiction, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in this movie, including the scene in the basement.
Yeah.
So imagine me watching that with my then 78-year-old grandmother, and then my dad walks in, and he's like, "What the hell are you watching?" And then my grandma just says, "Oh, I'm watching this John Travolta movie." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're watching John Travolta." I knew I was in trouble for watching this because my dad, for some reason, my dad was the straight-laced one and he didn't want me to watch a lot of this crazy stuff. And my mom didn't care. As long as it wasn't porn, my mom didn't care what I watched.
Yeah.
So my dad, on the other hand, literally, I couldn't watch anything above PG-13. So he was upset that we were watching Pulp Fiction. And so, but that was my first time I ever watched Pulp Fiction, but I was still in love with the movie. Where was I? Oh yeah, so anyway, back to this thing you wrote. So you wrote this crazy ass movie. What was it called?
It was called Wardolph's Warehouse.
But it had another title. Do you remember what the other title was? It had a long title. Okay, if you don't remember, it's fine. But I remember it had a longer title.
I believe it was whatever the amount of money that the story focused on in the beginning of this.
Okay.
It was that amount of money, rendezvous.
Okay. So let's just say $1 million.
Yeah, it was $1 million or $100,000, something like that. Rendezvous.
And then I suggested that you just change it to Wardolph's Warehouse because it sounded Quentin Tarantino-esque.
Thank you for that, because that title,
was a lot better.
Yeah, it's definitely.
So, do you? Okay, you probably do. Do you remember anything about the script? Do you remember anything that was in it?
Oh, I've revisited it a few times over the years, but in fact, I'm probably gonna ask you to revisit it with me sometime. Because
I would love to do this because I have vague recollections of what happened in this movie.
Here's the thing: we're living in a society now that's changed drastically since when I wrote this stuff. Yeah. Even when I revisited it years later, it still wasn't the society we live in today.
Right.
So a lot of stuff I wrote is not in the least bit PC.
Yeah, no, I do remember that much.
Even by Tarantino standards,
I just remember you going way off the wall a lot of points. I remember you handing me the stuff this is what I just wrote. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay. And that's a scene in a movie. I like it. I mean, I would love to see this acted out. I really would love to see this acted out. I really wish I was a millionaire just so I could make this movie, hire actors, but then not have them read the script, and then just film them acting the movie out, learning the script. Because it would be the best thing in the world. Just have cue cards. They just read the cue cards. Because if anyone read this thing, the way you wrote it, they would probably be running for the hills. Be like Scarlett Johansson is what the fuck is this? No, I'm out of here.
Very true.
But I think it would be awesome though. I really want to see this stuff acted out.
You know who I've always thought might actually give it a shot? Trauma.
Yes. Yes. I think they would. I can totally see. Yeah, you're not wrong.
If even at the very least, if we somehow made it and then gave it to them, I think they would release. You know how you make stuff and they release it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do that
I think they would at the very least do that.
Yeah.
If they seen it, they'd be like, heck yeah, let's put our name on this.
But
right up our alley.
Now this led to I don't remember if this you might have already had this camera, but I think around this time is when we started filming our own videos. Because now this was before YouTube, so I don't even know how we got started on this. Like, it must have just been like Saturday Night Live. We must have just been inspired by Saturday Night Live or something. Or no, you know what it was?
Yeah.
Monty Python. Because we were obsessed with Monty Python, Meaning of Life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what led to this series of events here. Is we started making these videos at your house. And this was when I lived with you temporarily.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other story. I won't get into that. But yeah, when I was staying with you, you had this video camera. It was your parents', I think, and you just took it.
I think my dad had said I could have it. Yeah.
Okay.
He gave it to me.
I thought you just were like, "Hey, video camera." You just started using it all the time.
I do regret because it wasn't really fully broken. Some piece on it had broke.
I think it was the viewfinder. I can't remember
Yeah,
messing with the view.
Silly,
no,
like...
I think it was the viewfinder because it had one of those things. I'm doing a thing with my hands, like you all can see this, but it had this part where you like extended the viewfinder, and I think that would come off if you extended it. So we had to keep it.
He said extended.
That took an hour and 5 minutes for you to make a sexual innuendo joke. I'm surprised that hadn't happened sooner.
That's what she said.
I walked right into that. I can't even be mad. But the very first, this might have been the very first thing we filmed was the found footage movie.
It's the search for Jonathan Snow.
Yes. And yes, Jon Snow. That when that character happened in Game of Thrones, that weirded me the fuck out. Because I was like, this is a character named Jon? Because we spelled it the same way. It was Jon.
Yeah.
But we spelled it Jonathan. And I was like, what? Were these people listening in on us? Like back in 2000 when we made this shitty ass movie?
Dude, that's a whole nother subject, but I swear, me and you could do a show on the weird things like that have happened to me. And probably you too. But I've had several incidents like that where something weirded me the hell out because it's just too coincidental.
Something we thought of. Yeah, I've had that a couple of times. But so we made this like found footage movie. And this was clearly inspired by Blair Witch Project. So Blair Witch Project mixed with Monty Python. Fun times.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the incident with Melissa mainly because this is forever embedded into my like psyche, and
this might still get us even to this day and somehow get us in trouble talking about it on the air.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure 19 years is a pretty safe statute of limitations. Yeah. So and here I'm only going to use her first name, and I don't even remember what her last name was. Then don't say it if you know what it is. Okay, so we decided to involve this friend of yours named Melissa. I think she worked with you.
Yeah.
And we had this idea for a found footage movie, and we're like, found footage movies are so easy. You get a camera, just film spooky shit, and that's it. So you involved your friend Melissa, and you wrote her into this thing, and we didn't, and by the way, when I say all this, we didn't write none of this. This was just completely improv at the top of our head. So we just had like a basic storyline of like, this guy named Jonathan Snow who went missing. We're gonna look for him. And action.
Yeah,
that was basically. So we went and got your friend Melissa involved, and this involved us going to her house, who lived like 2 blocks away from you, and So, set the scene. We're in your car. You're in the driver's seat. I'm in the passenger seat. And I have the camera. And you park in front of her house. And then for whatever reason, and again, this was not scripted. I don't know. Maybe you talked about this earlier today. But you both just start yelling insults at each other. Her from her house. You in the car. And then you kept talking about how you're gonna like kill her or something something bad, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fuck you all up, Northam, Northam, I'm gonna fuck you up." now, as this is happening, I'm filming this, and inside I'm nervous because you guys are yelling at the top of your lungs at each other outside next to other houses. And my greatest fear came true when suddenly behind us a cop car shows up.
Whoa, you actually left something out.
Okay, what?
Although this makes me look even worse. This makes me look 5 times worse, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway.
Okay, I'm dying to know what this is.
You kept begging me to leave.
Oh, yeah.
And I did leave.
Oh, that's right.
We drove all the way around the block.
And
a
I
couple
was like,
blocks away.
That's right.
We drove back by my house.
Yes.
And we returned back to where we were.
To her house. Yes, because I was like relieved. I was like, oh, okay, we got through that. And then I kept trying to stop the filming, right? But I was so, like, into the filming, I wanted to actually have, like, a natural stopping point. I didn't want to just stop the camera. I was like, okay, I gotta say something to end this. And no matter what I said, you kept adding on to it. And then you drove back to her house and then kept yelling at each other.
I was relentless. I don't know why I was so obsessed with finishing
And
this.
you kept yelling at each other. So then the cops show up.
I think there were sirens, like, even as we were leaving the first time.
I don't remember that.
I could
I mean,
be
it's
wrong.
possible. It is possible, but I don't remember that.
Because I know you kept saying, the cops are coming, dude. The cops are coming.
I might have just said that
I'm
just
like,
to get you to drive away.
Yeah.
I'll, like, try to end the scene so you could drive away. So then the cops show up. Now, maybe I'm exaggerating this in my mind because I was panicking at that moment, but I swear they had their guns pointed at us. I could be wrong.
They did.
Okay.
That's where it became like, well, still, aside from that, it's one of the funniest damn things ever happened.
This is another one of those things where you can laugh at because we're okay.
But once that happened, that was one of the scariest moments in my entire life.
Really fucked up. So the cops show up, the guns pointed at us, and they're like, they kept asking us like, what's the matter? Why are you? What's going on? We're getting complaints about an argument happening and threats happening to each other and blah blah blah. And we got our hands like out the window, and this is like winter, so we had the windows open with our hands up, like so the cops don't fucking shoot us. And then they're like, get out of the car now. And so we're getting out of the car, and we did not want to explain what we were doing. We were embarrassed that we were filming a home movie.
Yes.
And so we had to lie to the cops and say that we were just joking.
Because we were such amateur filmmakers, and we didn't have permission to be filming outside. We had nothing blocked off. We knew what we were doing.
Right.
It was just...
And so we had to explain with Melissa there, because she got involved too. We had to explain that we were just joking.
Yeah.
And we didn't really mean any of this stuff.
Pretending that we were fighting with each other.
But we didn't say why. We didn't say this was for a movie. And I was just like, please don't shoot.
Luckily they didn't confiscate the camera.
Well, I think I kept the camera, in my judgment, I kept the camera in the car when they told me to get out. And so I got out, closed the door really quick, and then they searched us. They searched me, they searched you, they searched her. And then they asked us, what's going on? Why are you yelling at each other, blah, blah, blah. And then I kept saying, like, look, I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't yelling. They were, like, play fighting. And then you guys were like, we're just pretending to fight. It's the thing we do. We pretend to, like, threat each other, but it's a joke.
Yeah.
And so after, like, 20 minutes, they finally let us go. And we didn't go to jail.
I don't think they believed us, but we were sticking to our stories.
Yeah. And they let us go. We didn't go to jail. We didn't get arrested. Thank God. And we then went back to your house, and I said to you, "We are never fucking doing that again."
Yeah.
And we never did that
again. That's for sure.
And what's even funnier, an added ending to that story was, I don't know why I remember this. That night, we were going to go see... God, why do I remember this? We were going to go see Next Friday with Melissa and her boyfriend, who was Jim at the time. And I just remember that happened immediately after all that. Going to see Next Friday. So, whenever I think of Next Friday, I just remember that night.
We went that same night?
That same night. Because I had that ticket stub at home. I used to collect ticket stubs for all the movies I went and saw. And when I look at the ticket stubs, I come to Next Friday. That's the fucking date that he almost got shot by the cops. Wow. Because we were filming a goddamn home movie.
And the part that really, the part that I'm really ashamed of about the whole thing, well, obviously putting you in danger, but aside from putting us human beings physically in danger, I don't know if you remember, I had one of my dogs with us, Dutchie.
Yeah. You did have a dog with you.
One of the cops was pointing a gun at him, saying, "You better shut that dog up. I'm gonna shoot him."
Something like that. Yeah.
I
forgot about that.
Freaking scared that he was gonna shoot my dog.
Yeah.
To this day, I've never forgave myself for putting him in that kind of situation. So
then it was safe to say that after that adventure, we decided to just stick to filming in your house. We didn't dare to venture back outside filming wise.
Yeah.
I mean, we would film in your backyard, but we made sure we were quiet.
Yeah.
But that was the extent of it.
Now,
and then
I had some crazy ideas similar, but you were always like, no, dude, remember what happened?
Yeah, you were like, let's go stand outside of a Walmart and give the finger or something. I'm like, what? No.
The funny thing is that nowadays, that's common YouTube stuff.
Right?
Pranks like that.
Exactly. See, we started a trend and nobody fucking knows it. And I think, oh man, I hope he didn't edit that out. When we filmed it, I think we kept that in, the fighting. And I think the part where Melissa said the cops are here, I think we kept that.
I think you could see the lights of the cop car before it fades, where you're like, oh shit. Because
then I think the last thing you hear before it cuts is me going, oh shit. Yeah. And then I turn the camera off. Yeah. Oh man, I hope that's still on there. Because that would be funny to revisit now.
Yes, we definitely got to revisit that one day.
Go
ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
Because I was just thinking, I did revisit it one time. I was going to send it, I don't know if you remember this.
I know what you're talking about.
Send it to a movie festival.
To this guy, This guy we know, he was in charge of some movie fest somewhere in Chicago. Yeah. And this was during the MySpace days.
I guess out of respect to you, because you knew him from Clark.
Yes.
And he also knew our friend Nick. Mm-hmm. So I'm not gonna say the guy's name.
No, yeah, it's fine. But
that still angers me to this day
because he kept the movie.
Yeah, he was supposed to take it and watch it.
But it was not the only copy, right? You do have an original copy somewhere.
I do still have a copy, but that copy I gave him, I edited it a certain way for him, specifically for that festival.
Yeah, we had to go.
That's the only copy of that certain way I edited it for the festival.
We definitely had to go back and do some re-edits, let me tell you.
So that particular copy, this is gone forever.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then later on, I jumped ahead. Now we're back to when I moved in with you. We started filming these sketch videos that we were inspired by Monty Python, and this was.
Seen the fish?
I still love that movie.
That was
but
our
that is,
favorite thing to say.
Yeah, that was. We used to do that all the time. Oh man, that movie is awesome. Anyway, so we did all these like sketch like videos, and they were like the length of a VHS tape. They were like 2 hours long of just us coming up with like sketches. And it would just literally just be us that day. Like, okay, now what do we do? All right, well, let me put on a red mask, and then I'm going to pretend I'm a wrestler named The Masked Interviewer, and then, but I'm not a wrestler, and I'm just going to interview you. And that's my backstory. And that was the creation of that character, was The Masked Interviewer.
Speaking of weird coincidences, didn't the other character that came about didn't we both agree that was weird how someone else came about that reminded us of him?
Oh, Strong Bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, not like 2 years after we did that, Strong Bad emails like hits the internet. And then we're like, are people spying on us? Like, how is this happening?
Yeah, because
he
did
was
that before Strong Bad.
Exactly. It was the year 2000.
It sounded very similar.
Yeah, the voice.
Mask.
Yep. You want to know something sad? I can't do the Masked Interviewer voice very long because, like, my throat gets, like, messed up now. So, like, if I do it like this too many times, I get this weird, like, blockage in my my throat, and then I have to just go to a coughing fit. So that's why I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
Like, I don't do videos with him anymore because it hurts. Physically hurts me to do it. And I don't know why it does that. Like, nothing happened to my throat. It's just, I just can't do it for too long. And then when I do the screaming thing, then I really start hitting in my throat. But, yeah, that was one character that, we created. You had one called Bag Sports Bill, where you were, like, this weird Australian guy. And this was based on something, wasn't it? Didn't you base this off of someone?
Actually, yeah. I based it off of, like, at least 2 different people, maybe 3. I based it off of Crocodile Hunter.
Okay, yeah.
One of my favorite.
Yeah. He was huge back then.
A little bit of him. I think a little bit of Billy Mays.
Yeah.
And I want to say maybe one other, like, infomercial type guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But,
definitely those 2.
Yeah. So, yeah, we just did all these, like, crazy, like, sketches and characters. And, we filled up one tape of it. And then we were like, that was a lot of fun. Let's do that again. So we did a second one. And then we did a third one. And then we got your friend Jim involved. And he was in a few of them. There was that one weird one.
One weird one?
Well, really weird. Where we decided to just kill everybody. We, like, all these characters we created. We did a whole tape of just us, like, killing these characters. And then the next tape, we just had to do new characters because we killed them all for some reason.
Right.
And then I think we didn't even follow that because then they came back like 2 tapes later. We did
I don't
like
think we ever explained.
No,
how
they just came back. You want to know what my favorite thing? If I had to make a top 5 of my favorite things, one of my top 5 would be your Donald Sutherland impersonation because it sounded nothing like Donald Sutherland. But to this day, when I see the name Donald Sutherland, I hear that voice. Can you do it? Do you remember how you did it? You're gonna be laughing, but like, just yes or no. Do you think you can do it?
I think so.
All right, I'll let you calm down. But I want everyone to hear. This is every time I hear Donald Sutherland. Every time I hear Donald Sutherland, this is what I hear. So it was a character that we created. He was just a Donald Sutherland that just showed up in our videos, and he was like the owner of like a TV station, because that was what it was. We came up with a plot eventually where all of these videos were taking place on a public access channel that was owned by Donald Sutherland.
Yeah. I think because it was before we got on public access on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But I think it was like an aspiration of ours to be on
public
there, so that became our theme.
So we just came up with this public access channel, and all these characters were on it, and it was owned by Donald Sutherland. That was hilarious. Okay, I don't want to pressure you. If you can't do it, it's fine.
Hello, it is I, Donald Sutherland. Famous actor.
Oh my
From
god.
Hollywood. Was it something like that?
Yeah. Highly respected actors. Yeah.
Yes. I am very,
And you know what was
very well known in the
you know what I think was even
community.
funnier was I think you really didn't know what he sounded like, so you went with that. And then we watched a Donald Sutherland movie together, and it was nothing like
I don't
that.
know why I couldn't remember how he actually sounded.
And I don't know why you went with Donald Sutherland. Like, you just picked that randomly, too. And then you were Gary Coleman at one point.
Yeah, that was like, hello, it's me, Gary Coleman.
Yep.
Remember me?
Yes. Oh my god. So we made like almost 10 of these things. To this day, there's the 10th one is incomplete.
Yes.
Because we're
that's
trying,
correct.
and I'm just going to be honest with you, this is probably never going to happen in a million years. Your idea to end it. Only because of the third person involved in this probably wants nothing to do with me anymore. But I think, to be fair, I don't have to be there. Because this all started when you were with this girl who would eventually become my girlfriend, and then she became my ex-girlfriend, then she became my girlfriend again, and then my ex-girlfriend again, and we kind of ended on bad terms. But you all started this together, you and her, like in your room, filming these things, and you wanted the ending to do what? To be how you remember how you wanted to end it?
You gonna have to refresh my memory.
You don't remember this?
I don't think so.
Holy shit, I thought you'd remember this. Okay, so you had this idea to end our 10th tape. You wanted this to be the final one. And you probably have it somewhere, but it's not complete because your idea was to have her back in your room, and then you were going to wake up as if the whole thing was a dream. As if you dreamt all the 10 tapes we did. And you were going to try to get her to come to your house to do this. Sounds really sketchy now that I'm saying this out loud. No wonder she don't want to do it. This sounds weird.
No wonder I don't remember it.
But yeah, no, that was your idea. You told me this like some years ago. And I'm like, well, I probably can't be there because we ended on pretty bad terms. So it's fine, that's perfectly fine, but I can't be there. And so, yeah, you had this whole idea for like a dream thing. And then we just never did it, and you never did it.
Wait, okay.
So you don't remember
Can I
that?
say a name of who you're talking about?
Yeah, go ahead. If I have to edit it out, I'll edit it out. What the fuck was that? Well, now I have to keep this in. This is funny.
I don't know what my problem right now.
I don't even know why you're being secretive about it. It's fine.
I don't either. That's
Because you're looking at the computer like you don't want this recorded, so it's like, what do you not want me to record this part? It's who you think it is.
My mind first went to Renee.
No.
But then I'm like, oh wait, you said someone you dated.
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I was like, what's the confusion? So, yeah.
Okay.
So now do you remember that?
I kind of remember the dream, but I don't remember the part with her.
Yeah, you wanted to get her involved somehow, and you wanted it to be like it was all a dream, and then that was going to be the end of it, which...
Like she was going to be in the room.
Yeah, because she was going to... Like, you were going to
waking me up?
recreate that scene. Like, if you remember the very first thing you filmed on that very first tape, it was just you and her in your room, and you guys were, like, goofing off all, like, the Breakfast Club and all this stuff. And then you were going to do this...
Yeah.
You were going to do this thing where you were going to insert in you, like, falling and hitting your head, and then you dreamt all of this stuff, and then the ending of it was going to be you waking up, and she'd be over you and be like, are you okay? And then you're like, I had this weird dream about public access, and Donald Sutherland talked weird, and all this stuff. But yeah, so two things. One, I don't think it's ever going to happen because do you even talk to her still?
Not like we talk as far as every great once in a while. Hey, what's up on Facebook? Something like that.
All right.
But no, we don't. I haven't really kept in touch.
And then two,
officially,
looking back at it now from a 2019 standpoint, that's a very hacky ending. The whole dream thing, because people are tired of that.
Yeah.
Back when he thought of it, it was probably okay, but now it's oh, of course it was a dream, but. But I mean, I think it still would be kind of funny. Actually, I think it might go full circle, and it might actually be funny because you're doing something that's so cliche and overdone.
Every time I think of something like that, it reminds me of the Roseanne ending. Yeah. Which became even stranger when they brought it back.
New season. And they didn't even acknowledge that.
Yeah, they made a joke about it. When they brought it back, they were like, she was like, "Are you alive?" And he's like, "Oh, why do people always asking me that?"
Yeah. No, I saw that episode. Yeah, I remember that. So.
Well, then they had to kill her off.
Yeah, they did.
That whole thing became even stranger if you look at the whole original ending.
Very much so. Yes. So. Whew, all right. I did want to do one more thing, and then we should probably wrap because we could talk for hours because we've been through a lot of shit. I did want to talk about one more thing. Is your ability, I guess is the word I'll say, of being involved in very strange things. Strange things seem to just happen to you, or you experience weird things, or you swear you keep going through multiverses or stuff like that. As if am I accurate? Am I right?
What kind of question is that?
Well, no, but I'm being serious. I'm trying to find a way to word it without making you sound really crazy.
Are you talking about something I said recently, or are you talking about years ago?
Everything, just
in general.
Almost every time I see you, you're like, man, I think I'm in another dimension right now because this is weird, or I don't remember that happening, or whatever. You would just every day would say something to me that you would think something was happening, and then we would have these conversations about the supernatural and aliens and time travel, and that's the only thing we kind of really agree on is time travel. Because I'm super obsessed with it, and you are too. And but you keep saying to me yeah, I had this dream that I traveled in time, and it might happen again for real, or something. I'm just giving examples, but you would say stuff like that.
No, but I did. Do you remember? I really did. I really did. Well, I know you said that as an example, but I don't know if I really told you that I did have a dream like that. And you just reminded me years and years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was so realistic. And I woke up really thinking that it did happen.
Huh.
I don't know if I told you when it happened.
I don't remember.
So, because you just used that as an example. So I don't know if you... But you don't remember when I really did tell you?
I mean... Probably. I really don't know. I'm sorry. It's just because you did that a lot. You would say you had weird dreams about something, or you as awake you would experience something and you couldn't explain it. Is that fair?
That's very fair. Yes.
Okay.
I will. Yes.
And keep in mind, I'm not trying to put you down or anything as I explain this to you. I just kind of want to get other people to understand where we're coming from, and this is going to segue into something.
No, because. You are very correct. I've had a lot of strange experiences that I really do believe happened.
And it's perfectly fine. I don't know. I'm one of those guys who, I want to believe. I don't want to be a molder, but I'm just in the camp of I don't know. I don't know if there's aliens. I don't know if ghosts actually exist. I've never encountered either in my life. I've never had a ghost encounter. I've never seen an alien. I've never seen anything remotely close to that. So not to say that it doesn't exist. I don't want to be one of those guys who's like, well, it doesn't exist because I didn't see it. It's just I don't know if it exists because I didn't see it. It is very possible all that stuff is real, and it's very possible that time travel can be possible, be done, and it is very possible that like half the things you experienced actually happened, and I do think the other half of it might have just been a dream you had, and you thought it happened.
Fair
and
enough.
It's hard to say, which is which. So this is all leading to the Mandela effect, which is something you say you experience a lot, in that you think either somebody already died, or you thought somebody didn't die, but they did, or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but I did, well, hopefully they still exist. I did make a couple of videos joking, like mockingly about the Mandela effect.
Mm-hmm.
I think too. And that was just like my own lighthearted way of trying to alleviate I was starting to kind of believe in and look into it and believe a little bit certain things. I was curious. And so because I'm always joking and making silly things, I made silly videos about it instead of putting a real real Mandela video out there.
Yeah.
These are the facts.
So, one of the things for me when it comes to the Mandela effect is celebrity deaths. This year, 2019, was just full of celebrity deaths of people who I thought already died. One of them was Rip Torn. I could have sworn any amount of money that Rip Torn was dead like years ago. But he just died this year. You know who Rip Torn is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Freddie got his fingers.
Yeah.
There, right? Yeah.
And I thought, I thought he already died. I remember seeing something in the news about him dying not that long ago. And now he's dead again? Like, what? And then another one I had, I think this was him, the guy that created the movie Alien?
Yeah.
Like the guy that created the monsters? I thought
Special
he
effects.
died. Yeah, I thought he died a long time ago, but he died this year. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
Like, I swore he was already dead. And we almost had one today. Thankfully, I was wrong. When you were talking about Ray Stevens. And I was like, I thought he was dead. But no, I Googled it. He's very much alive. It was just more of my... See, he could have died this year, and I would have thought he already died.
Right.
But I Googled it, so I know he's alive now. So at least, if whenever he does die, I would be like, okay, yeah, I know for sure.
But see, that's the spooky thing about it, too, is people are claiming that they'll look stuff up on Google and it'll change.
Oh, yeah.
Like the next morning they'll look something up, the same word they looked up the day before, and all of a sudden there's a different definition or whatever.
That also could just be people on the internet messing with everybody.
True.
Because Wikipedia, you can edit. Like anyone can edit that. Like you can edit that. Like it's super easy. Like for anyone to do it.
True.
Okay, so when I was at Gen Con this year, there was this card game that was called The Mandela Effect. And the whole thing is just, you just read off stuff on here. It's like two choices. And then you have to try to pick which one's the right one. So like for an example here, is it Fruit Loops spelled F-R-U-I-T or Fruit Loops F-R-O-O-T? Which way do you think it is?
Which way do I think it is now?
Or just which way do you think it is in general?
In general, I think it's O-O.
Okay, yes, that's correct. What's another one? Oh, you're a Doors fan. Here we go. In Light My Fire by the Doors are the words, if I was to say to you, or is the lyric, if I were to say to you.
If I was... I thought it was if I was...
So you're saying if I was?
If I was to say, girl, we couldn't get much time. Yeah, if I was.
See, that's right. See?
Okay.
So you're not as bad off as you think you are. So let me try to. So that's basically the gist of this game is you just read off these things and you have to try to figure out. So let me try to find some good ones here. So,
but the Fruit Loops thing, I'm not sure if originally. I feel like I know I've seen it now for sure in this day and age with the OO, but I don't remember how how I saw it when we were younger.
Gotcha. I'm trying to find some good ones here. Let's see here. All right, here we go. Does Kansas sing "All They Are Is Dust in the Wind," or is it "All We Are Is Dust in the Wind"?
All we are.
Nope, it's "All They Are." According to this card. All they are is dust in the wind. And I think that does sound right now that I'm saying it.
All we are.
Let's see. Okay, so here's another one.
What? That's all we are. Oh, wow.
If you want to look it up later, you can. So does Mighty Mouse have an M on his chest? Yes or no?
I feel like he did, yeah. No, but sometimes I think he had a plain yellow.
So
I'm torn on that one. I feel like I remember seeing it two different ways. He for sure had a yellow outfit.
Grant, yes,
like red
he did.
Boots, I think.
Yes, but did it have an M on it?
I'll say no.
Okay, it did not, but here's the thing. I thought it did have an M on it. I thought it had one on there. Like, for real, when I read this card, that's what I was reading, and I'm like, it does have an M. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Alright, what's another one here?
I seriously feel, I'm picturing it both. Like, I remember seeing it both ways.
Okay, who the hell will get this confused? Okay, I'm sure you know better than this, but I want to read this anyway because this is really ridiculous. Cat Stevens is famous for singing the classic "The Cat's in the Cradle." Yes or no?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Now I guess you have to be like a music nerd. No. What the hell was the name of the guy that sang that? I want to say it was like Harry something.
Harry Chapin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was remade by Ugly Kid Joe.
Yeah. But the Harry Chapin and Cat Stevens, there's very similar singer, songwriter,
and
folk type.
again, we're huge nerds, so we know the difference. I think like other people who don't follow music that closely probably would think it was Cat Stevens.
So I don't think that's a man though. That's just people never knowing who really did it. Probably associating Cat in the song, Cat with the name.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
So how many members do you think are in the Jackson 5? 5 or 6?
Well, I'll say technically 6, right?
You are correct.
But that's because when Michael left, they replaced him with one of the other brothers.
That's probably what they're going with, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's another one here? So, like, some of these are, like, spellings of names, which, like, whatever. Like, look at this one here is, like, Courtney for Courtney Cox. Is it Courtney, Courtney, or Courteney? And, I mean, I wouldn't have known. I don't really know one way or another, honestly, without looking at this card.
I feel like it's Courtney.
No, it was actually Tenney.
Huh. I'm just picturing, like, it going along with the Friends,
On Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, what was in his back pocket? A red baseball cap or a red handkerchief?
Handkerchief.
Yeah. See, I think the music ones you're good at because, music nerds. That's both of us are.
Yeah.
Did Captain Kirk say the line, "Beam me up, Scotty"? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Nope. He probably said something like, "for to beam up" or whatever, but I don't think he ever said "beam me up, Scotty." It's just,
never once.
I think it's one of those things that people like, "Play it again, Sam." Like, he never said "play it again, Sam" in Casablanca. So I think this is one of those things. I'll just do a couple more here because there's another thing I could do probably all night. I'm just trying to find some good ones here. Is it Gordon's Fisherman's or Gorton's Fisherman? And I say my D's has T's, so
no,
Gordon or Gorton.
Wow. I always thought it was with a D, but I don't know now.
What do you think? Just what do you think it is?
I have a feeling it's gonna be with a T.
It is. Yes, it is. All right, let me find one more to end it on. Let's see here. Let's keep looking here. And yeah, I'm kind of agreeing that most of these just aren't Mandela things. They're just people misremembering, which I think is most of what Mandela effect is, just people not remembering things right. Like, even earlier tonight, we were with our friend Adam, and we were talking about, what was that we were talking about? I had it and I forgot. We were talking about this Mandela effect. Oh, the Shazam.
Yeah.
The Sinbad Shazam thing. And he's in the camp of it actually existing, and I think you said you were too.
I thought I remembered that existing. Yeah.
But I do not remember that at all. Like, I don't remember seeing. I just thought it was weird that people kept saying that. And I was like, no, you're thinking of the Shaquille O'Neal movie Kazam. Like, that's not even remotely right. Like, I know the name sounds similar, but there's no way I'd get Sinbad and Shaquille O'Neal confused. But, like, there are people, like you guys, who are like, no, I saw the movie. It was in the video store. It was on TV. I saw the trailer for it.
I distinctly do have a picture in my head of seeing him dressed as a genie.
See, I don't know why that's the one that, like, makes people so crazy. Like, they swear. Like, all this stuff that I'm reading here, people are just like, whatever. But that's the one that people are like, yeah, no, for sure, he was actually in a genie, and he was dressed up, and I think people claim they had the movie. I think that's how far people go. They said they had the movie at home. And I'm in the camp of, no, it did not exist. I do not remember anything like that. I just remember the Shaquille O'Neal movie, and I remember it looking terrible, and that was it. And I think maybe the confusion might lie in that Sinbad was in a movie at the same time. I just don't think it was like a mystical movie. I think it was, if I had to guess, and I know this is not a very popular movie, so people are going to be like, what? But he did a movie called House Guest with Steve Martin and Goldie Hawn.
I loved that movie.
And I think that came out the exact same time as Shaquille O'Neal's Kazam. And I think people...
Phil Hartman.
It might have been Phil Hartman. Yeah, I don't know why I said Steve Martin. Ooh, maybe that's my own Mandela thing. Ooh, no. I think you're right. I think it was Phil Hartman, actually.
Maybe.
Well, you know what? Now okay, I'm Googling it really quickly, because shit, for all I know, I misremember.
I saw the show. That's how I know for absolute sure on that.
I mean, I'm sure, I believe you. I just for my own sanity.
You know what? Wasn't there one called House Sitter, too, though?
Guess movie.
I feel like there was a movie called House Sitter.
Phil Hartman. Okay, yes, Phil Hartman was in House Guest. Okay, House Sitter. Let's look. House. Welcome to Jason Googles Things on an audio podcast. This is very thrilling audio. There was a movie called House Sitter with Steve Martin. There we go. That's my connection. But see, that's how I think people are doing that Shazam Kazam movie. I think Kazam came out at the same exact time as House Guest. Let me see when Kazam came out. If it's the exact same year.
There's nothing in that movie that insinuates him being a genie.
I know that, but people could have just saw the posters. Okay, so Kazam came out in 1996. So House Guest was 95. So that's about a year apart. And, remember back then, I don't think they do this anymore, but movie theaters would put, coming soon, and they put the movie posters up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a theory. I'm not saying that I'm right, that this is exactly why it is that way, but...
Well, I heard that Sinbad admitted he did something, like maybe a commercial or a short video or something.
Yeah, maybe like a kid's thing
dressed
was as a genie. I heard that too. I did hear him say that. But that wasn't popular enough for the entire world to confuse it for a fucking genie movie.
And whatever that is, it was not an actual movie. And it wasn't a full-length thing.
So the only thing I could think of is maybe some promotional stuff got out with him dressed like that, and they got it mixed up, and for some reason they went Shazam instead of Kazam. Because I think Shazam is an actual thing, and Kazam is not. Because, Shazam is like what you say to genies. I think Kazam, they made that up for the Shaq movie.
Yeah.
So, people just collectively, mentally just put those two things together. So, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
One other one that drives me nuts is the Berenstain Bears one.
Now, that one I did struggle with the memory of, but I do remember it being Stain. Because I had those books when I was a kid, and I had to, think about it, and I was like, was it Stain or was it Stain? And then I was like, I think it was Stain. I think I remembered him saying Stain. But that is another one that people, go crazy about. No.
I remember him being Berenstain. Berenstain Bears.
Berenstain. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, too, but I remember it being Berenstain. Because I think I remember as a kid reading that, looking at it, so it's not Steen, it's Stein. Stain? Because I remember I kept saying Berenstain Bears. Stein, Frankenstein.
Yeah. But,
when you look at it, I'd be like, oh no, it's Berenstain Bears. I'm that's weird. That's a weird name, because why wouldn't it be Berenstain? But, it was a person's name, so, who am I to judge? But...
I have a book in my parents' attic. I need to go up there one day and look at it and see what that says.
That would be crazy if it said Steve. That would be crazy. Okay, we got to end this. This is going on 2 hours. All right, we could do this all night, but we're not. So thank you very much for coming on to this podcast. This was a lot of fun. These conversations are kind of
welcome.
How we talk normally.
Yeah.
We normally reminisce about stuff we did in the past, and I'm always like, do you remember that? Stuff like that, and we have these kind of discussions like the Mandela effect thing. So to kind of get it out in audio and to kind of have people experience us, it's kind of cool. So
Definitely.
Seriously, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me, man.
You're most welcome. So, that's the end of the show. So, everyone go check out the podcast. It's on Podomatic. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can check all those out there. Make sure you go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/whatever with Jason Soto. You can follow me on Twitter at whateverjsoto. And then you can email me at whateverjasonsoto@gmail.com. The music that I use is Ben Folds 5, the Battle of Who Could Care Less, off the album Whatever and Ever Amen. I do not own the rights to that song, but I have fair use on my side, because I am not getting paid to do this podcast. If someone wants to pay me to do this podcast, I will gladly change the song to literally anything. Or I'll just get someone to cover the song, because I really like that Ben Folds song, and I think it fits perfectly. So yeah, that's it for the show. Next week, I'm going to have a very special announcement, so stay tuned in for that. And otherwise, thank you very much for listening.
Can I add one quick thing?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's alright. It's alright.
I just want to throw this out there. It's probably goes without saying because it's going to be written down, but there's a silent S at the beginning of my name. So, for people who want to look up any of my stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Well, no, you mentioned that at the beginning, but I meant
I'm really tired right now. Yes. Okay.
Well, you didn't have to bring it back. Oh, I'm just saying I should have mentioned at that start.
Please, everyone, go check out
silent S.
Go check out his stuff. He wrote some books. He's got some poetry books. He's got a lot of music out. It's on Bandcamp, Spotify, like everywhere. Literally just go Google Bill Szany with an S, and no, it's not Zanys. Some smart ass probably type that in and be like, oh, nothing came up. Type that in and then just check out all of his stuff. He's got so much stuff out there you can definitely check out. Check out his books. They're on Amazon, right?
Well, my second book's on Amazon. The first one used to be, but actually I think the second one got taken off again.
No.
For whatever reason, when I
right.
republished it. I don't know if they saw the old one still posted or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well, just go out there and look for his stuff, and it's awesome.
Basically everywhere else, Barnes and Noble and all that stuff.
Okay, now to end the podcast.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I didn't mean to do that, and I just forgot. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you all very much for listening. I'll catch you next week.